Hey, we are back. It is Wake Up Woodward chat family. If you haven't got an opportunity to smash that like button. Hey, KG, you got the stick mic over there?
Yeah, I do.
We're going to just satisfy that like button.
Oh.
We got to satisfy it. We got to talk a little bit about the Pistons. We got a little bit of news about Dennis Schroeder as well.
Hey.
So let's satisfy that like button. We'll talk about the Pistons a little bit, talk about what else might be available to them in free agency. I really feel like they're just going to run this thing back right now as it is. So let's go ahead and smash.
I got you. I can't hear the tunes right now, but, you know, I'll try and do my best, man. Hey, you know we in there. You know, it's a bit of built-up frustration this morning, and sometimes you need to release, man. So just go ahead and hit that like button. You know, just slightly tap it. You know, if you got to go a little harder, that's okay. We invite all types of love, so.
Equal love, man, amongst the managers and the players. I feel like this is like a civil war, man.
Right.
It's like the coaches on one side, the players on another. Golly, but shout out to the Detroit Pistons. Historic leap last year, but there's a lot of fans who do not believe they've done enough to bolster and to take advantage. Bolster effectively what they did last year, the success they've already had, the foundation that they've built, that they've poured. As well as being able to take advantage of a wide open East is what some people believe. I don't think that it's as wide open as people think. I think that some of the other teams have done some interesting moves to try and pull themselves off of the all kind of just dysfunctional list. With the Pistons, though, one of the things we wanted to see them do was try and bring back one of these vets from last year, and right now they wound up with none of them. So continuity and consistency is going to have to come from this young core. But one interesting thing here as it relates to the Dennis Schroeder news, we were hoping to be able to get him back as a backup ball handler via Cody Davis. Shout out to our guy Cody Davis, friend of the show, part of the extended family of the Woo crew. He is the Detroit News Pistons beat writer. He says via Dennis Schroeder, to be a starting point guard in the NBA, you can't ask for more. In Sacramento, Dennis Schroeder cherishes what he couldn't have in Detroit. So I believe even more so than money, the sticking point for Schroeder going to Sacramento was an opportunity that they offered him. So now we're talking about pivot for one Mr. Trajan Langdon. And that's where when I look at this offseason and what they've done, I'm like, you know what? He did quite well for himself. I don't know if they knew Dennis Schroeder was going into the offseason looking for a starting job. I don't know if they believe that, because that man signed that contract before the Detroit Pistons, or allegedly before the Pistons and the Kings were even able to consummate that sign and trade deal. So as I'm looking at what the Pistons got available to them right now, the offseason of pivot, that's why I still continue to be firm about the B+ that I give them, and I am looking forward to the combination of Karis LeVert and Jaden Ivey being able to pick up the slack of guys like Dennis Schroeder and Malik Beasley. Is it going to look exactly the same? No, but I am looking forward to this team actually being better as it relates to facilitation, ball rotation, hitting the cutters a little bit better, hitting your athletic players on the back on the baseline, man. But I wanted to get your take on it as well. Flannel, KG, and the rest of the cast and the crew. Dennis Schroeder spurned Detroit effectively because he wanted to start. I'm not mad at him. Get your bag, get your starting position. But I do believe that the Pistons would have been much better off if they could have brought one Mr. Dennis Schroeder back. KG?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And, you know, Schroeder, it's a loss. Like, I think the majority of Pistons fans did want to see Schroeder back, but he was never going to get the opportunity that he was seeking here. So I'm not necessarily mad with that. And then when you look at Schroeder's history, that's kind of been the story on him. He's always wanted these big opportunities. I'm not mad at him for it. You know, as long as you can be able to leverage yourself and get the bag, that's fine. But I think the Pistons will be fine. And we don't know what this iteration of the Pistons will be. We don't know what they'll look like. But I am confident that there is a chance they could possibly be better than the previous version. Because once again, you didn't lose much. Yes, you did lose something, but I'm not worried as a fan. Trajan Langdon was able to pivot pretty well and was able to replace some of the things that we lost. And we shouldn't receive too much like fall off from that. It's all about what can they add at this point to maybe take this team to another level. But as of right now, as a fan, at least speaking from my perspective, I'm fine. I'm chilling.
Too, man. I'm fine. I'm chilling with it too, because I'm looking forward to what the Pistons can do. We're going to continue to have this be a refrain next trade deadline to next offseason. And I am wondering how much they're able to play up the value now of these young players. There's a lot of belief in Marcus Sasser too. I want to be able to get your take on that one, because right now it looks like the Pistons are a team that's going to have to get a lot more from within than actually going out there. So they did like the nip and tuck, similar to what we see out of the Tigers. But are we going to be able to get that same type of leap to the next level? Because the expectation is Detroit Pistons second round next year, bare minimum.
And Marcus Sasser is a player that I really like. To me, he does deserve a role on this team. He comes in. He's been a spark plug for this Pistons team unequivocally. But he has when he's out there, he's a defensive liability at times. And his ball handling abilities are still, they can use some work. They can use some refinement. I don't think he's the worst ball handler and distributor in the world, but it's definitely something that he can work on. But we all know the offense is there. His step back three is pretty damn good for being a bench level player in the NBA. So if they want to give Sasser the shot, I'm not mad at it, but they will have to find some ways to supplement that defensively, because that will create a problem as we get deeper into the season and maybe rolling into playoff time. But the book is still out on him. He still has a lot to prove, and I'm looking forward to him, if he does get that opportunity, to go out there and show what he can do. Yeah,
and with Marcus Sasser, I'm hoping that the lineup is one that puts him in a position to play to his strengths. He doesn't need to moonlight as a point guard. Yeah. I believe that his best facilitation, it comes off of his ability to score, his ability to attract an extra defender, because he can score at all three levels. But JB Smooth, you're somebody who we haven't been able to get necessarily the voice of reason. Your take on this Detroit Pistons offseason right now. I do believe that a lot of what the Pistons are going to do are going to have to do and depend on to take that next step up. It's about the internal growth. This is what the Pistons are saying. This is, whether we agree with how it went or not, this is the plan that they're taking. How you feeling about the Pistons being able to reach those expectations?
I mean, this is the plan that the Pistons are taking, as you said as well, too. So I think we still need to give Trajan just a little bit of time to get things straightened out and organized as well, too. I hate the fact that, we couldn't keep Dennis Schroeder, but, that's fine, too. We will find something else as well. But I think this still needs a little bit more time to develop. And obviously, these young players that we have right now are going to grow. Cade is going to have to step up and take that leader role and just, kind of delegate everything out to everyone else on the team as well, too. But I still think that there's a lot of potential in all the players that we have right now. It's just finding a way to get everyone to gel properly into this next season. So give it a little bit of time, give Trajan a little bit of leeway, and look for another big. And by God, please get rid of Tobias Harris.
You never gonna live that one down, man.
I will not.
I see Weezy D through and through in the chat too. He says, there you go, Kool-Aid. That's the first good thing I heard you say about Sass. No, bro, look, I've been a Marcus Sasser fan for a long time, and I'm going to go back, try and find the episode where the pre-draft press conference, we basically called the Marcus Sasser pick. And was in the press conference, talked to Troy Weaver about it, and he was like, bro, like, y'all got my office bug. Because we understood his trends from his previous days with OKC, that he's going to trade back up into this first round, and we had already seen him do that with the Pistons. What did he wind up doing? Traded back up into the first round to take Marcus Sasser because of everything that he brings. The problem is the Pistons have been searching for a backup point guard and facilitator. That's not necessarily Sass. Sass is a combo guard who will go out there and straight up light you up. But I believe when Sasser has to think too much or think beyond what his natural skill set is, that's where I believe Sasser gets into some trouble. And when you already got a player like KG said, defensively, they might try to pick on him. That means that he has to be that much more positively efficient on the offensive side of the ball. And that's where I believe when he's able to just kind of dribble, drive, crisscross, hit that step back three, get to the rack, and then facilitate based off of that movement, that's where I think that we see the best Marcus Sasser.
We need to find out if he's more than just an energy player. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. No. A lot of teams need those type of players.
That's the perfect question.
But this is a bigger role for him. If he were to assume this role, this would be a big role for him. Essentially being that go-to distributor when Cade's on the bench. So that is just questions that need to be answered with him. But he does have a skill set that says he can succeed in this role. I just got to see it first. That's all.
And I see AD is 411 too. He says Sasser and Klintman are the two guys who will need to make a stride and get into this rotation. And that's interesting because Bobby Klintman is a guy that Trajan Langdon, again, unprovoked, brought up and talked about at the Chaz Lanier introductory press conference a couple days ago. That's a player that he has, high hopes for. And if we look at his game from Summer League to what he's done in the G League, I definitely expect this guy to enter the rotation at some point in time, but I don't know how much we should be depending on a Bobby Klintman to be our backup floor stretching big man.
Yeah.
I don't even think that Bobby Klintman is necessarily going to be in the rotation to start off the season. I do believe that Marcus Sasser is going to get every opportunity to be that backup combo guard. Bobby Clement is one that I don't know is going to get that deal, but I see A Diz again. He says Clement is a big man. It's going to be interesting because they gave him the full 4-year guarantee deal for a second-round pick. So they definitely want to see this guy hit the rotation soon. And I see Weezy D 313.
Shout out.
Sasser, Holland, and Clinton. So there's a lot of people who do believe we're going to get some type of contribution, some type of step up from some of these guys off the bench. For me, I'm looking for the step up to come from the guys along the starting lineup. I don't think that there's any 4 that they could have gone out there and reasonably brought in that was going to make any of a bigger difference than what Cade Cunningham, Asar Thompson, and Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey, whatever he can bring, can do next season. And that's where I'm excited about Jaden Ivey and Isaiah Stewart. KJ, I wanted to pick your brain about this. What are reasonable expectations for a guy like Jaden Ivey entering next season? Because for me personally, they're saying he's going to enter camp healthy. They say he's going to have full camp to be able to get right for this Detroit Pistons season. You saw the changes that he made to his game and the improvements that he made last year. I'm expecting a Jaden Ivey that by trade deadline, by All-Star break, you're seeing a guy who's averaging back to at least that 17, 4, and 4. And I do expect the 3-point, the outside shooting efficiency to still be there.
Yeah, that's the biggest question here, because I really feel like Jaden Ivey made so many improvements over this last season before he got hurt. We talked about the efficiency at the basket. He got better at that. His defense, it took a step up. His 3-point shot definitely took a step up. And he looked like he was getting more comfortable being that secondary ball handler, being able to handle the offense when Cade, when they would stagger the minutes. And he was somebody that was able to go out there and actually win you a couple games over this last season in the clutch. So I think he's coming back, and I love the Pistons' decision to, make sure that he was healthy and not play him in the playoffs, because honestly, I felt like he maybe could have played in the playoffs, but they didn't want to push it. So you're giving him a whole offseason to get healthy, get right. He's coming in with no restrictions. He can go out there and play the style of basketball that we know him to play. Very athletic, very aggressive, likes to push the pace. And I think that fits well with, the biggest question with Ivy was, can he fit with Cade for a long time? And when J.B. Bickerstaff came in the door, he kind of put that question to rest. And in a small sample size last year, I would say you saw way more positive from the Cade and Ivy pairing on the floor than you saw negative. So I just think they need to keep feeding into that. He was second on this team last year in scoring, so I don't expect that to go anywhere. I would hope that would go up. If he can push maybe getting toward 20 points a game, I think that's super beneficial to this Pistons team and to Cade Cunningham. So I think that he can come in, he can hit the ground running, and at a bare minimum, he should be able to do what he did last year, be second on the team in scoring, provide another presence besides Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
And in certain clutch situations, you might get the ball and you might be the one that's trying to close the game. So I'm not mad at it.
I see ACG in the chat. I want to know what the fans think too. The chat family, what's you guys' confidence level in Jaden Ivey? Because we all talk about free agent pickup. Trajan Langdon literally said that Jaden Ivey is the free agent pickup. I know that wasn't necessarily something that a lot of fans wanted to hear. There's a lot of people who believe that Jaden Ivey could be trade bait. But it seems like there's a lot of belief in who he can be, because you saw the improvements. You look at ACG, Ivy should come back, and he thinks he can put up 18 points, 6 assists, and 40% from behind the arc. Hey, we saw him take this leap last year.
Yeah.
And if you look at some of the stretches that he had before he got hurt, the assist numbers were actually starting to take a jump.
Yeah.
One of the most underrated aspects that I like about Ivy playing in the lineup with Cade is that for some reason they got a good chemistry on Cade's relocation threes. So if Cade gets blitz at the top of the key, Jaden Ivey gets the rock. Jaden Ivey got really, really good and in control at diving downhill, driving into the paint, either finishing or what would he do? Sometimes you hit that little Steve Nash. You run right underneath the basket and you keep your dribble, and he would find Cade for that three-pointer. If you look at Cade's catch and shoot three-point numbers, you look at Cade's three-point percentages, some of his best three-point stretches did come while playing with a Jaden Ivey. To me, that shows that Jaden Ivey is continuing to learn. Jaden Ivey is continuing to develop. And that's where I'm hoping that the injury is something that can be completely behind him. Luckily, it was one of those situations where they stayed clean break.
Yeah.
They were able to go and get this thing fixed up. similar to an Aiden Hutchinson situation. And I do believe that we're going to see Jaden Ivey, who I've continued to put in a category above Jalen Duren and Asar Thompson. So if I believe we may see those guys step towards stardom, I definitely believe in Jaden Ivey, the player, and what he could be here in Detroit.
Yeah, he's right on the cusp. He's right there. There's not a lot of big changes that he needs to make. He just needs to continue doing what he's doing. And I'm glad that you brought up Cade's 3-point, being better with Jaden Ivey on the floor, because, you spoke to this a lot last year, and I got to give you credit. When Cade is able to move off ball, that's a whole different, type of Cade Cunningham, where he can just focus on affecting defenses, going out there and doing what you do best, using your body, getting to the paint, stretching the floor as well. When Jaden Ivey's on the floor, that relieves Cade Cunningham to just freely move around the basketball court. And I think that, when Jaden Ivey comes back, that could play into maybe Cade's 3-point percentages being a little bit better. But that is an area in which he needs to improve if the Pistons want to take that next step.
I was just about to ask you, what area of it do you want to see him take that leap in next year? And I do believe it's in the facilitation. Even more so, to me, I think it's
Cade?
No. With Jaden.
With Jaden. Yeah. I was about to say, yeah.
With Ivey. I was going to say, with Ivey, what do you want to see him improve on next year? Because we're talking about a backcourt at one point in time that we thought had potential co-stars, not even Batman Robins.
Yeah.
There's some people now who they believe, now that his injury has happened, that he's going to be a Robin. I don't. I believe if his facilitation takes a step forward, that's going to naturally feed into who he is as a player, as a scorer. I believe that if he can get those assists up a couple, like we saw earlier in the chat, there's some people in the chat who are bullish on this thing. I think it was ACG. Yeah. I do believe we see the best version of Jaden Ivey.
If your starting two guard can go out there and become a facilitator as well, knowing the type of facilitator Cade is, and you line them up with a whole bunch of shooters on their team, that's only going to benefit the Pistons, man. So I do agree. That's probably the biggest area he needs to work on is being a better distributor of the basketball, especially with his driving ability and the way he can draw defenses in, get into the basket practically at will. It would behoove him to, yes, be a better distributor and be able to go out there and move the ball around. But I think I would like to see him score more as well, man. I think he just needs to continue to be aggressive when he gets his opportunities. I would even call, certain sets around Jaden Ivey and his style of play. I would like to see that a lot more because I want to see him hit that 20-point-a-game threshold because I think he could get there.
Ooh. What do you think them stats are from next year? Because I do believe that the bare minimum is right back to where he was. I would love to know that Jaden Ivey is a 25-5 player.
Yeah, shit, I don't know. I don't know if he's there yet.
He was 17, 4, and 4 last year.
Yeah.
On high percentage, high volume from behind the arc.
That's a big jump, though. To 25?
No, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists.
Okay. Yeah. I'm like, what?
20/5/5. Let me do that.
I would say.
Hold on, KG parked up. He looked at me like, beef.
Yeah, I'm like 25. No, I think he can get to. I don't need to see a huge leap. 19.5 points a game and maybe get those assist numbers up a little bit. I think he's fine. You said he was 17, 4, and 4?
Yep.
Yeah. I would take 19, 6, and 5.
I feel like you're going to land like 19, 6, and 4.
Okay.
That's what I do. You look at the opportunities he's going to have next year, though, they're way up. We're looking at Jaden Ivey, who, if you're talking about him being the secondary ball handler when Cade's on the court, as well as who the Trajan say is going to be filling the Dennis Schroeder role?
Yeah.
We were hoping he would say Sass and LeVert and some of these other people. He eventually said LeVert, but we played the clip on the show yesterday, and for 35 of the 48 seconds, it was all about Jaden Ivey.
Yeah.
Being this free agent pickup, being this great addition to the starting lineup, and being able to be the backup facilitator. He's going to be amazing because we just came from a coach who didn't know what to do with this man.
No, that's a fact.
At all. It literally buried him on the bench, and now we got one at the very least that's understanding how to put him in his best possible position to succeed. And I do believe that it helps Sasser. You look at Sasser down the stretch, and the type of development, the developments that he took, the steps he took forward in the second half of the season when they were able to rest Cade more, Sasser took some leaps forward too. He did figure something out with these guards.
It was a small sample size though, and his role even still with him improving last year was to just come in and score. Just come in, provide a source of 3-point scoring for us when we need to rest some of our other bench guys and our starters. So I just need to see him, what he's going to look like full time in that role. But overall, I agree with everything that you're saying. And JB Bickerstaff will have these guys in the best position. So, and we know that Ivy and K, their minutes are going to need to be staggered at some points.
Yeah.
So with Jaden Ivey, him bringing him up, he's going to be huge for that second unit as well. So like you said, if he can improve in that ball handling department, that not only bodes well for the starters, but also the bench, because he's going to be out there a lot of those minutes with the bench as well, and being that primary facilitator for them. So.
Yeah, and I see some people in the chat as well. Maurice Shaw, I don't think that he's too pleased with the offseason. He said, I guess we're going to give up 4 firsts and Holland next year to get a power forward. One of the cool things is this. The Pistons can just sit back and wait to see who is disgruntled, who needs to make a move, who needs to free themselves up,
right?
Who's approaching this apron and they need to be underneath it because they want to be able to approach this next draft season with complete flexibility. That's where that trade exception that the Pistons have right now, the $14.2 million trade exception, that's where that comes in handy. Because now you can actually say, you know what, we'll take the whole contract from you, and we'll just throw you some seconds. Or down the road first. It's not going to take 4 firsts and any of our young players for the Pistons to be able to play that type of role in a transaction.
And when you look at what Trajan's decision making has been this offseason, you do kind of wonder if part of that is, okay, I want to save some money, because with the second tax apron, it's going to be real hard to have a lot of max players on your team, man. And we got contracts still yet to come up. I mean, Jaden Ivey, Jalen, Duren, Asar Thompson, these are players that we are going to have to figure out what we want to do with them in a short amount of time. We only got maybe another year at most for a couple of those guys. So with the second tax apron being what it is, it's going to be harder to retain a lot of those max contracts. A lot of teams are only going to have 1 or 2 max players on their team total, and the rest is going to be filled with role players or aging veterans and things of that nature. So you wonder how much of that played into Trajan's decision making, because you do want to maybe hold on to some money with these extensions possibly coming up.
Hey, intern Haley's holding things down in the sound booth. Got sports knowledge too. What you trying to drop on us about this Pistons?
I just want to see if the group census is we're sad that Schroeder's not going to be with us, but it's okay. I feel like the Pistons should prioritize their minutes on Cunningham, Ivy, Sasser, and dare I say, Schroeder could get in the way of that rotation.
Yeah.
And I feel like Schroeder is meant to be on a win now team, and the Pistons are still developing their roster.
And you look at the contract that he got too, and what did Trajan say? We're not necessarily trying to hamper anything.
Exactly.
That might be more true to what you're saying there, because Schroeder wants to start, Schroeder wants the bag, Schroeder wanted the years. I'm sure that there was something the Pistons could have worked out, but he would have been on the bench.
Yeah.
Because he's not starting over Cade. He's definitely not going to start over a Jaden Ivey, who I know they got some high hopes for. JB Bickerstaff came in and restored that order right away. We didn't have to wait. There wasn't no hey, is there any controversy here? Well, everybody's going to get a chance, but we really like Jaden Ivey. That's literally what he was like. There's no controversy to start off this training camp like it was the prior one. But I think you're right. There is still an aspect of team building. Trajan's telling us this. They didn't make the splash.
Yeah.
And when you look at a Schroeder, it's that is the type of piece that you're if we're ready to go and contend right now, you probably bring him back for the continuity aspect. He is a vet. He's played in those high-pressure situations. And you know what? When you're in that situation, space be darned as it relates to the development and the growth of those young players. But the Pistons find themselves in an area where I think internally she's correct.
Yeah.
They get the ability to still build towards winning, still take the next steps, but also make sure they got the space for these young players to develop and grow, because they got to make a decision. You got Sasser, you have Ivy, and you have Duren, who are all up for contracts this year. Not like it was last year where they could have extended them. I'm talking about if you don't do something this year, they're gone. They're going to walk for nothing.
That's a fact.
That's where we're at right now with these guys. And so I do agree with you on that one. You want to know what you have. Sasser showed, I believe, enough in that sample size that they were probably comfortable letting Schroeder walk.
Yeah, they'll probably give him, at least Sasser, the opportunity to prove himself because of the improvements that he's made. And no, Haley was cooking with that. It's just Schroeder was such a great addition for this team mid-season, but we all knew that it wasn't a long-term piece. We all knew that he wasn't going to be one of the building blocks on a Eastern Conference contending Pistons team. It's just unfortunate. Maybe, we could have had him for another couple years because it's hard to find 3-and-D guards in this league. And that's something that Schroeder provided in spades. He's somebody that could go out there, get a bucket, but he can also play on the other end. So they're going to have to find a way to supplement that. Make no mistake. Like what Schroeder brought to the table defensively, that changes everything. And that, kind of went into decisions that Trajan had to make on the fly. But I think they'll be able to recoup and play better defense as a team. But it's still yet to be seen how bad that Schroeder, not re-signing with the Pistons, how bad would that hurt the Pistons going into next year?
Yeah, I see Weezy 2-3. He says, we are ready to contend with what we have right now, Kool-Aid. Trajan Langdon said this. They are ready to compete. He does believe that this team, as currently constructed, is ready to compete.
Absolutely.
He believes that their contingent, that's going to be sped up by who? The young players, just like last year. This was sped up because these guys took the next step. And then he said it changed things for us. And now all of a sudden, they're in this next season. And I really wanted them to be able to bring back at least one or two of those vets from last year. Obviously, we know they had the deal on the table for Beasley. Trajan spoke to that, and he said that he was disappointed because they were excited to have Malik Beasley back.
Absolutely.
They were absolutely excited. And I have him a part of what you got going on right now. More shooters, the better. That's where I'm at with this thing. But what do you think, man? Where do you see the Pistons at next year? Because I'm looking at what some of these teams in the East have done. But I am going to be bullish and say that this team, the expectation and where they're going to land is hosting the playoff series next year.
Come on, man. I think the Pistons could be a top 4 seed, and I have not relented from that. I thought they could have been a top 4 seed this past season. Shit just didn't shake out at the end. But overall, and it's funny because I was going to ask this in the Swisher Brick yesterday, do you think that the Pistons can make the second round as presently constructed?
I do.
And I think that absolutely they can.
They could have made it last year with injuries to Ivy and Stewart.
Thank you.
And no Beasley effectively.
Thank you. And if they can maintain health throughout the year, I really think that the addition of Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert, it could look different than what this previous iteration of the Pistons looked like, and it could be for their benefit. Because Duncan Robinson, somebody we know, he's a movement shooter. He's not somebody that's going to take as many bold shots like Beasley would take when he was in rhythm. He gets some more in line with the offense. I was talking to Anson about it the other day.
Yeah,
and I do agree with that sentiment.
Karis
LeVert can be a solid player offensively, of course, defensively. He gives you something. It's not like he's just going out there and he's a turnstile. He gives you something. But I think he's better than Simone Fontecchio, or he can even be a better scorer than a Dennis Schroeder. So I think the Pistons are sitting in good position to still move out of the first round next year. I still do.
And I see you Pistons have a point guard in the summer league from Tennessee. Yeah, it was the point guard that played with Chaz Lanier. He's excited about the opportunity to play.
That's another thing. What's Chaz Lanier's role on this team? Because he is a specialist.
I'm going to ask about him right after this, though. One more from Dad with Tourette's. I guess it's 30 minutes is up. Shout out Flannel, dog. Sasser has a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio and shoots over league average from 3. What's everyone's issue with Sasser as backup point guard getting 22 minutes? Given 22 minutes, I don't have a problem with him playing. It's just I believe we saw the best of Sasser when he was actually out there with another point guard too. He was coming off the bench and playing minutes with Cade or playing minutes with a Schroeder.
That's a fact.
Playing minutes with Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. too, who are also guys who are going to facilitate to a degree. So I want him playing the minutes. I think he's earned that with the short stint that we saw, the sample size post trade deadline. But I want to see Marcus Sasser play. I want to see him get the minutes and opportunity to prove he could be a good combo guard. Because, like I said, that 3-to-1 assist, it's not because he's out there hunting assists. It's because he's so dynamic of a guard and of a ball handler, and he can get to his spots. And he has that secondary instinctual facilitation. Yeah, that's why I say, don't put him out there and it's natural. Don't put him out there and say, now go run point guard. That's a skill set. That's what made Cade Cunningham so special. But what makes Sasser special is the fact that he'll dot you from 3. And then guess what? He pump faking. Y'all are all itchy. They're not like that necessarily with Cade. So it's like play him to his strengths. I would rather whoever the backup facilitator is hit Sasser. Sasser's catch and shoot 3-pointer is going to be better than a lot of other people on the team.
That's a fact.
I don't know. I like him in a role where his combo guard, where facilitation or scoring is something that can be maximized.
No, I totally agree. That's where Sasser has flourished. I would much rather have him in that role and not take full responsibility of being the distributor, for that second unit. But if they decide that, I trust JB Bickerstaff too. Because he's the one seeing them every day.
100%. And you brought up Chaz Lanier, and I'm going to group in another three-point shooter here because Big Dan Davis says, what role does Duncan Robinson have on this Pistons squad? We've talked already about Karis LeVert, so I'm going to talk about Duncan Robinson. We can talk about Chaz Lanier as well. Duncan Robinson, when we went and dug through the numbers, there were certain things that I knew about him that I was like, okay, we can benefit from this. But when you looked at his freaking assist percentage compared to even the Malik Beasley's, it's like, you know what? We got a player who I know is going to make the extra pass, that's going to swing. And if he's not on, he's not going to just keep shooting. People say shooters shoot. That's the ones that don't necessarily understand how a pump fake, one dribble, boom, hit the cutter.
Right.
Duncan Robinson actually understands that. So if the shot's not working, he can hit the three off movement, which I love that. You look at what the Pistons have done. All their shooters, movement shooters, yes. Catch and shoot shooters, yes. Pick and pop shooters, yes. They got a lot of guys that can do a lot. And Duncan Robinson, when he gets the ball in the intermediate, is where I think it's even more. I believe guys like Jalen Duren, they're going to see an improvement. Guys like Paul Reed, they're going to see a benefit from having a player like a Duncan Robinson. Yeah. Because he does make the intermediate pass. He can make the drop pass. So aside from the three-point shooting, I am looking forward to him being active on the offensive side of the ball as it relates to making the extra swing pass or finding the cutters.
Yeah, for everybody that's upset that we lost Malik Beasley, I'm upset too. Let me introduce you to white Malik Beasley. Hey, you
got Flannel to smile, dog.
Good. If I got Flannel to smile, I know it's real. But that's what he is. They are the same archetype of player I've been screaming at ever since he was signed. You did not lose much by swapping out Malik Beasley for Duncan Robinson. And in some ways, Duncan Robinson can be better than Malik Beasley. And one of those points, like you said, is having better vision than Malik Beasley would have at times. Sometimes he would get tunnel vision when he's trying to get his basket to go, and he doesn't look for the extra pass. Duncan Robinson can do that. He is also somebody that can put the ball on the floor. He is also somebody that's going to be kind of a liability on defense. Malik Beasley wasn't a great defender either. So I think that with getting Duncan Robinson, is he as prolific as a shooter as a Malik Beasley over this past season? No, but he's right up there. I mean, he's the all-time leading three-point shooter.
Not as prolific. I agree with that. But he is as reliable. The percentages are what they are. He still shoots high volume. It's just Beasley was like freaking going out there like, I'm hitting 7 threes a game, which is incredible because now you know that's a guy who more times than not you throw him the ball and you can do this. You can ramp up how much you do this per game. That's huge. But can they replace that? Yes. When you look at the three-point shooters they have, the minutes that these guys are going to get, the Pistons are still, as a team, I believe you're going to look at them at the end of the year and say, as a team, they still have a similar amount of three-pointers made as last year. If not, probably a better chance to have a higher. They lost a Jaden Ivey last year. And now you're gaining Jaden Ivey, a couple nice shooters, and people who want to make the extra pass, who want to find the extra shooter, who want to find the cutter, who want to throw the lob. I like that about these guys.
And Duncan Robinson has been somebody that we've seen it in the playoffs as well. So coming down the stretch, no offense to Beasley, of course we would have liked him to catch the ball, but he could have had a better first round series. I think we all as Pistons fans would agree with that. Duncan Robinson is somebody that we've seen do it in a playoff situation. He can hit big shots when it matters. So that's what I'm looking for from him. Come in and hit big shots. You're going to be relied upon to be the majority source of three-point scoring for this team. I need you to just come in, be efficient, and play within the flow of the offense. I think we'll be fine.
100%. And one more from Randall Smalls so we get to everybody's favorite segment. He says, what do you guys think? The three guys we got could be better than the three we let go. It's tough. Schroeder is a starting caliber point guard, but it's also a notion of it as it relates to fit. We don't need a starting caliber point guard.
Right.
So the three guys, the Chaz Lanier, Duncan Robinson, Karis LeVert joining this team, I like the fits of what these players could be. Obviously, you got to wait for Chaz because he's a second-round pick. He's a rookie. He had a first-round grade, and he is one of your specialists. But you just want to wait and see. The other two guys, I do believe that you're going to see similar, if not better, One of the characteristics that Trajan Langdon harped on, why they went and locked these guys up in particular, and why they even pivoted away from maybe a Malik Monk, size.
Yeah.
They said we are bigger. You look at what we had
that.
last year out of Tim Hardaway and Malik Beasley and Dennis Schroeder. You look at the vets we brought in this year, they are bigger. And he said Karis LeVert can defend the 1 through the 3, and in a pinch he can switch off to your bigger floor stretching bigs. So that, to me, Trajan believes we got better defensively. He does believe we got a little bit better as it relates to facilitation. And he thinks we got more versatile players who can do things at all 3 levels a little bit more efficiently than the guys who left.
I think so too. And this is why I was totally on board, especially with the Karis LeVert signing. And, not saying he's the greatest player ever or anything like that, but I totally agree. They got bigger, and that's a big key for this Pistons team because you're continuing to make your strength stronger. We all know this calling card for this team is defense, and with them just getting bigger size-wise, that's only going to help play them being an even better defensive team than what we even saw last year, which is crazy because they already like a top 10 defensive team.
Yeah, bro.
So
yeah,
how much better can they get?
I'm looking for the lob connections to go up.
Yeah.
Who led the league in dunks? Who was leading in lob connections? I'm looking forward to actually that improving. I can't wait, man. But Dante151 with a $4.99 super chase says, KG, don't tell that to Easy because he still thinks Beasley is better than Duncan Robertson. He says Easy, they Duncan Robertson. He says Easy, they are the same player, but yet Robertson helped Jimmy Butler.
No, they really are. And you can make the argument that one is better than the other. I would lean toward Beasley technically being better than Duncan Robinson, but you playing semantics at this point. They are literally the same archetype of player. I don't think we need to, if they had went out and gave up Malik Beasley and got somebody that's shooting like 32% from 3, then I would have some questions. But he is a high, volume, high efficiency 3-point shooter. I'm cool. But shout out Easy, man. We all know Easy's opinions could be a little on the wilder side. So.
And I see Detroit straight up. He says, facts, JB. JB, what are you saying in the chat? Let me see. You know what? I can guess. You're not covering no sports today. It's all snack wraps for you, right?
You're right.
No chill with JB Smooth in the chat. I heard someone said the snack wrap is back.
Snack wrap?
Hey! They never gave up on their favorite menu. Shout out to JB Smooth, man.
Never gave
Goodness
up.
gracious.
Never lost.
How you feeling over there, bro? Before we go, say what up to some friends and give everybody their favorite segment.
Hungry? What? Dead ass hungry?
Who we got to say hi to, brother?
We